Look at the newest inflation numbers that were just released, because they may have given Social Security beneficiaries a small break, at least for now. And when I say beneficiaries, I mean retirement, SSDI survivors, spousal, SSI, VA beneficiaries, and even RRB beneficiaries who are watching their checks and wondering what these numbers mean for their money, their benefits, and their finances. The reason I'm saying you may have lucked out is simple. Based on what we're seeing right now, the increase you're already receiving is actually a little higher than what it would likely be if the same adjustment were calculated using the newest data today. That may not sound exciting, especially when everything still feels expensive, but it matters because it affects what your monthly benefit looks like throughout early 2026, the rest of this year, and even what we could be looking at going forward. I want to give you real practical dollar amounts and explain exactly what was released, why it matters, and what it could mean from here. And I'm also going to show you a short summary screenshot on screen in a moment, because even though it's labeled as an AI-style summary, it actually captures the point in a quick and clear way. The big reason I'm highlighting this right now is because as I'm filming this in early 2026, most of us have already received our first payment that includes the higher benefit. Some people have received more than others, but the point is we've received the payment, and we can see that it's a little higher than what we were getting last year. That increase was announced in late October 2025 and applied now in early 2026. It's not a massive change, and for a lot of people it barely feels noticeable, but based on the newest inflation data, it may actually be slightly better than what we would be expecting if the adjustment were calculated today. Before I go any further, I want to mention something quickly because I keep seeing it over and over again in the comments. Some of you are frustrated because your Medicare plan changed and you can't see your doctor anymore. Others are saying your prescriptions suddenly cost more. Some are finding out your clinic isn't in network anymore, or your hospital system changed, or you tried to schedule an appointment and the office tells you you're no longer covered the way you thought you were. If this is happening to you and you're on Medicare, please do yourself a favor right now while we're still early in 2026 and call Chapter. Their number is right there and it's 100% free to talk to them. I know some of you are tired of hearing me say it, but I'm seeing too many people learning this the hard way after they already got hit with the bill. You may still have options, you may still have flexibility. I can't promise anything because I don't know your exact situation, but that's the point of calling them. The advisors at Chapter are extremely knowledgeable. They have access to over 20,000 plans across the country, and they can tell you what's possible in your specific case. If you've been dealing with the "I can't see my doctor" problem or the "why are my prescriptions so expensive now" problem, just call and see what they can do. I think a lot of you will be shocked by what's still available, even early in the year. And yes, I've shown the pages of comments before. Page after page of people saying they reached out and got great results. The community savings are over $2 million collectively, and even just in the first couple weeks of this year, I've already seen dozens and dozens of people say they called and they're getting real help. If you call them, come back and leave a comment with the word "Chapter" in it. That's the keyword I search for. And I'll add your comment to the ongoing list and keep featuring those results in future videos so other people can see what's actually happening. Here's why I'm so direct about saving money. You can't call Social Security and say, "My benefit is too low, please raise it," and expect them to fix it. That's not how it works. So for fixed income beneficiaries, one of the only practical levers you can pull is reducing expenses where you can, especially healthcare costs, because those can be some of the most punishing bills people face. Chapter is helping people save on average around $100 per year. That's why I keep bringing it up. And if you find these Social Security and benefits updates helpful, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next update, because I'm going to continue tracking everything closely and bringing it to you as it develops. Now let's get into the inflation update, because this is where the numbers matter. We just got the inflation data for December, and the reason that matters is because when we look at CPI-W, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, that is the exact index Social Security uses to determine the COLA, the cost of living adjustment. The 2.8% COLA that you're getting right now in early 2026 was announced by Social Security on October 24, 2025, and it's showing up now in your benefit checks. But here's the key detail. The CPI-W number has come down. It's posting about 2.6% year over year. And it also dropped by 0.1% on a month-over-month basis. That matters because it shows that the 2.8% COLA we are receiving right now is actually higher than what it would likely be if they were calculating the COLA today using the newest data at the beginning of the year. In other words, if they were forced to set the adjustment right now, it would probably be smaller than 2.8%. That's why I'm saying beneficiaries may have lucked out, at least for now. Not because 2.8% is good, not because it's generous, and definitely not because it matches what people feel in the real world, but because it's slightly higher than what the newest numbers suggest we'd be looking at. And yes, I know exactly what you're thinking. Lucked out on a 2.8% COLA sounds ridiculous, because 2.8% is pathetic in terms of what it does for most monthly checks. I agree with you. For many people, it amounts to a handful of dollars, and for a lot of beneficiaries, most of that gets eaten up by the Medicare Part B premium increase. So I'm not pretending this is a win. I'm just pointing out that if that adjustment were set today, it might be even lower, closer to something like 2.5% or 2.4% based on where the numbers are right now. Now let me explain why this happens, because this is where the system feels outdated. Social Security collects the CPI-W data from the third quarter of the year, July, August, and September, then compares it year over year to the prior year's third quarter, and that becomes the COLA for the following year. They gathered that data months ago, when inflation was running hotter on a year-over-year basis, at least according to the official numbers at that time. So by the time we get to early 2026 and we look at the newest inflation release, we're seeing a cooler pace. That's why, technically, the COLA you're already receiving is slightly higher than what today's data would likely justify. Again, it's outdated, and that's exactly the point. The system lags behind. Now let's take this idea and project it forward because context matters. We are extremely early in the year right now, so I'm not presenting this as a final forecast. I'm showing you what the numbers imply if inflation were to hold steady. If we take the current pace and assume it stays flat month over month, no big jumps up and no big drops down, and we carry that through the first, second, and third quarters until they gather the next set of COLA data, we could be looking at something around a 2.4% COLA for the upcoming year. That means, in a sense, the 2.8% we got might be around 0.4 percentage points higher than what we would otherwise be expecting if inflation stays near where it is now. So let me put that into real dollars, because that's what actually matters when you're paying bills. These are simple examples just to show the scale. If someone is receiving a $600 monthly benefit, a 2.4% COLA would translate into about $14 per month. $14. And remember, the Medicare Part B premium right now is $17.90 higher. So for someone at $600 a month, that kind of COLA would essentially be wiped out. That person wouldn't feel an increase at all. It would be gone before it ever helped them. If someone is receiving a $700 monthly benefit, a 2.4% COLA would translate to about $16 per month. Again, not much. If someone is receiving an $800 monthly benefit, a 2.4% COLA would translate to about $19 more per month. $19. And if someone is receiving a $1,000 monthly benefit, a 2.4% COLA would translate to about $24 more per month. Now think about what happens when you line that up against Medicare. Let's just use clean math. The Part B increase we're talking about is technically $17.90, but let's round to $18 so it's easy to follow. If a person with a $1,000 benefit got a $24 increase from a 2.4% COLA, and then Part B went up another $18 the following year, that person would be left with $6. $6 net, that's it. That is exactly why people feel like they're constantly losing ground. And that's why I said beneficiaries may have lucked out a little bit with 2.8% being slightly higher than what the newest numbers suggest, because even tiny differences matter when the baseline is already so low and deductions are already so heavy. And I want to be very clear. I am not acting like 2.8% is great. I'm not acting like it solves anything. I'm just explaining the math behind why this particular adjustment, as small as it is technically higher than what today's cooling CPI-W would likely lead to if the system calculated it right now. If you're finding these breakdowns helpful, subscribe so you don't miss the next updates, because I'm going to keep watching these numbers and I'm going to keep translating them into real dollars the way you actually experience them. Now, there's one more piece that I think is important to say out loud because this is something I've been saying for a long time. In many cases, real inflation is roughly double what the COLA ends up being. Double, typically. So when Social Security announces a 2.8% COLA, the lived reality for many households often feels like something closer to 5.6% or even around 6%, depending on what you buy, what your rent is doing, what your utilities are doing, and what your medical costs are doing. That's the gap. That's why the adjustment never feels like it keeps up. And if we project forward and say, okay, maybe we end up around a 2.4% COLA next time if inflation holds steady, then real inflation could still feel closer to 4.8% in everyday life. That is the exact reason benefits keep falling behind year after year after year. The index used for the calculation does not accurately reflect what people are actually paying. The CPI is a poor representation of real price increases for many households, especially seniors. And that's why you keep seeing headlines saying seniors are falling behind more than ever. Fixed income households are struggling and the gap keeps widening. This isn't new. It's been happening for a long time. The math is stacked against people living on benefits when the adjustment is small and the expenses that matter most rise faster. So here's the practical takeaway from what was just released. The latest inflation data matters because it suggests the COLA you're receiving right now is slightly higher than what it might be if the adjustment were calculated today using the newest numbers. You may have lucked out a little bit, at least for now, by about 0.4% compared to what the early year data implies. That doesn't mean the COLA is good. It doesn't mean it matches real inflation. It doesn't mean it protects everyone from losing purchasing power. It just means that technically the timing of the third quarter calculation gave you a slightly higher adjustment than you might have gotten if inflation had already cooled the way it's cooling now during the measurement window. I'm going to keep watching this closely because this is a busy time and there's always more coming. If you want to stay on top of these updates without having to dig through numbers on your own, subscribe so you're here when the next inflation release, the next Social Security update, or the next Medicare development drops. And if you're on Medicare and you're dealing with network changes, doctor access problems, prescription costs jumping, or you're turning 65 and need help with enrollment, call Chapter. It's free. They can help you compare coverage options that fit your personal needs. If you have a special enrollment period for any reason or you need help finding the right plan, they can guide you. They've already helped thousands of people in this community, and the savings and feedback keep coming in. After you call, leave a comment with the word chapter, because that's the keyword I search for, and I'll keep featuring the real experiences and results so people can see what's actually possible. And if you're new here, consider subscribing right now so you don't miss what's next. I'll keep you informed as everything develops because there is always more to come, and I'll catch you again in the very next update.